I asked you this, I can't remember how much down we were, but when you were running for commissioner,
Right.
budget was a big issue with you, and we were total budget, everything, all in. We were still close to $1 billion. We were in the neighborhood of, as I recall, 974 million.
Well, that's it was 900, a little over 900 million. What the big budget that everybody talks about was the 07-08 budget, $1.16 billion, and it came down to about 967 the next year, and has gone down pretty much and leveled off at about 874, not to 900 million. That's total budget.
That's loans, that's everything yeah. Outstanding, yeah. The whole nine.
It kind of breaks down where, you know, it's about 76 million in salaries and benefits, and contract services about 108 million, capital outlay 168, debt service about 36 million. The big 800-pound gorilla, though, in this whole $875 million budget is about 240 million in reserves. You hear a lot of discussion about people who are knowledgeable with the budget. What is that? And that's what
that's money that you use to pay off lawsuits.
Well, part of it. And that's what I'm really looking at in great detail right now, and I'm sure the rest of the board will do the same thing. But basically, what we've got is a situation where that 240 million, a lot of it is in categories called contingencies. We have 140 funds, like 140 checking accounts that fund all the different budgets. Each one of the budgets, like the MSBU's as an example, I have generally a 10% contingency, but line item for whatever happens, you know, and then the larger ad valorem funds, like basically the charter asked for a debt. Back in 2004, we requested the board adopt a debt and reserve policy, which I think you might recall when we started the last charter review, and we voted on it there in 2010. We found out that they didn't really adopt a policy, a reserve debt policy, until just before we were seated as charter review members in 2009. So, but what the board did is they adopted a policy on reserves that on the major funds, they have basically three types of reserves. Reserve for contingencies, reserve for what they call cash carry forward, which is basically the money that's needed to operate the county in the first 2 or 3 months of the new fiscal year, waiting for the people to pay their new tax bills in November. And then the last one, which occurs in the general fund and the capital projects fund, a reserve called fiscal stabilization. And essentially, that was created for the big storm that might hit us again, or some or possible liabilities, unfunded liabilities like the Rotunda lawsuit, and suits, plural.
Suits, yeah.
And which, by the way, the first one was settled for $13 million. That check has been
okay, good.
It's out the door.
Because the interest was like $1,000 a day or something.
About $1,500 a day, $1,500 a day. So it's out the door.
Good.
That's gone. 2 we can't talk about. We're in litigation right now. We have an executive session on Monday on that.
Get the checkbook ready.
But just hoping it's a number that we can deal with.
Yeah.
So anyways, what I'm looking at right now is looking at, we can't really touch, of that 240 million, there's a lot of it that's encumbered for future projects. It gets carried over. A road job doesn't get done sometimes in the fiscal year.
Sure.
Carries over. So there's a lot of those dollars. But there's about, I think, as I've looked at it, about $70-something million that could be available that we need to look at and see whether or not the percentages that are being budgeted to reserve that is, because it gives us flexibility, Ken, to maybe do some things relative to capital improvements or things that have been deferred over the last 4 or 5 years. Maybe an opportunity to do something different with that money.
Well, you guys seem to be, handing out money to, former commissioners and stuff. I was wondering, Earl Lang at Acme Bicycle Shops got a great deal on a carbon fiber. It's only like $6,500. could we set up a meeting so I can approach the commission, ask for it's only 6,500. Hell, you're giving Skidmore what, 10 grand plus another,
Well,
I'm a cheap date, really, and I'm gone. I'm in, I'm out, I'm gone. You'll never see me again.
that was
No?
a tough vote yesterday. I think just a footnote on that. We do have the board adopted a resolution. I don't know what year it was that basically would allow an elected official to be reimbursed if they prevailed in an ethics or a civil case or a criminal case. If they prevailed, and the fees, the attorney's fees, were related to, or the charge was related to his duties or her duties, and served a public purpose. 2 out of the 3 that we were discussing yesterday fell into that category.
Mm-hmm.
The third one was the incident with Mr. Holden, which did not occur during work hours. It was, I don't know that any more than what was in the papers, but it certainly didn't appear to me to be
I
related
still
to
got a
job.
copy of the police report if you'd like to read that.
I know others have, and basically, though, it did not meet that test, in my opinion. So I made the recommendation that we exclude the payment on that. It was $900 some odd yesterday. It was a tough vote, though. It's one of those situations where
You just want it to go away.
well, it's a
And move
situation
on.
where you've got to realize that it is. There are times when people want to do things that are frivolous. You do your job, and sometimes folks just don't like what you do, and disagree, and they could go ahead. We've got to protect the people trying to do a good job.
Sure.
And fundamentally, that's the protection you need. Or people simply will not run.
Yeah, indeed.
Simply will not run if they're exposed.
All right.